after the drama of our last build video. We've since been up to Byron Bay. We've caught up with a bunch of different friends, finished our last super exciting job of the year. Finally back home, ready to get started on Nigel.
After the first issue of our original engine that we wanted to work on having an entire crack down the side, we are going to get stuck into taking Nigel's engine out. Fingers crossed everything's okay with that engine, and then we're going to make the best of both.
So wish us luck. We've never done this before, but we'll give it a really red hot crack. As long as this engine doesn't have a crack in it, hopefully we're up on the road next year.
What could go wrong, right?
What appears as 30 seconds of footage is actually hours of work spent contorting in every which way, wrestling rusted and rounded bolts, and getting a little too close to Nigel. Between fighting bolts and awkward positions was of course filled with a continual search for the correct socket or spanner size, an endless pursuit made even harder by the fact that over Nigel's 40 years of life, many nuts and bolts have been replaced by not exact match, but just similar ones, requiring imperial, metric and Whitworth-sized spanners and sockets on hand. Safe to say, a little laydown was necessary from time to time. After a long, hard day, we finally got there. Time to actually get stuck into the engine. Old board bag. Great job as a working mat. It's been broken for a couple of years, but it's still been tied to the roof for a couple of years. Finally time to get a new one, so we might as well keep using this for something else. Every bolt unscrewed fine except one, which means I can't remove the prop shaft until I have all of them. But it's already like a pretty damaged nut, and it looks like it's had some sort of, I don't know if it's a nylock or if it's sealant, but nothing is straightforward. I don't really know what I'm going to do, but I'm just going to have to keep tinkering with it just to try and get this one free. I'm going to be replacing all the nuts and bolts anyway. I just really want to get this off and just get this prop shaft off. Who knows how much longer this is going to take. That done, it's time to get into it. Done this all before, not too long ago with this engine. Hopefully this is smooth sailing. I've inspected the block already and it's looking pretty good. Fingers crossed the head's right as well. Alright, making good headway here. We've basically done the top end plus removing the sump and the oil pump.
but I'm not going to keep going any further until, because obviously now I'm dealing with a lot of extra parts here. But I've got the old vinegar bath going, so I've got all the parts that I want to bathe in the vinegar bath. Leave that for a day or so, and then now I guess I can start tackling the head. So far the block is in great condition, so I'm so relieved. Last thing I need to check is the head, so I'll get the springs and valves out, give it a bit of a clean up, and fingers crossed there are no cracks, and we'll be able to just keep getting stuck in. Beautiful. Alright. Your conrods and all the bearings and stuff. Actually super impressed with how these have come up. Really happy with them. Everything's come out super easily. And they're all looking like pretty schmick. Which I'm stoked with. I've still got the other conrods from the other one as well that I can compare with if there's any less wear, but I think these are probably totally good to go. I've got new bearings anyway, but all the wear on the other surfaces are excellent. But now I've run out of degreaser, of course, so I think I'm going to call it a day here, but I got to get that beauty cleaned up nicely. But now it's empty and ready to go. That is a really underwhelming $4,800.
Exciting though.
Exciting though, yes. But it doesn't look very good. So this is our bulkhead, which is the only part really on Nigel that actually rusts. The chassis can rust too, but thankfully Nigel's chassis is in great condition. So one of the biggest catalysts for this whole thing that we're doing was the fact that we knew we had to replace the bulkhead at some point. So it was like, well, to remove the bulkhead, we had to remove the engine. So to remove the engine, we might as well, if we're going all that effort, we might as well rebuild it while we're here as well. So it's sort of been this snowball of like, well, if you're doing that, we can do this. And then it's like, well, if we've got to take everything apart, we might as well repaint it too. So sort of has started off as something semi-big and has turned into something colossal. So exciting though. Nice.
Oh, that's so heavy.
Nice. The new bulkhead.
Very exciting. Very expensive.
Very expensive. Normally for these, you're supposed to paint it the same color as the outside, but we're deciding to treat it with rust bullet, which is what we used in our initial build. And after 12 months, I'm so impressed with how it really held up, particularly in a lot of spots that was just more so like encapsulating the rust and just sort of looking after it, particularly in the original bulkhead, because we knew it was going to have to go. I was so impressed that I'd prefer to just do the same thing to this. We're still going to be covering it up with sound deadener and stuff anyway, so we'll end up painting the bits that you can see, but for the rest of it, we're still just keeping it as a really solid rust bullet paint finish, because it's going to be covered up anyway and it's going to be really hearty and look after it for as long as possible.
It is time to start sanding back the panels of Nigel.